On this episode of Das Hooah, we'll be sitting down with Matt from Vet Cave at the Vet Cave headquarters. We'll be having a real conversation with a real veteran about real things we're all really going through. Thanks for sitting down with me, man.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous.
Oh, man. We talk all the time, brother.
I know. I just never been in front of a camera before.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Indiana. I was born in Indiana, raised in Illinois. About 2000, I moved out to Utah, moved out to the West, and and then I've been out here ever since 2000.
Since 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What drove the move, man? Were you just like...
Well, it wasn't my choice at that time. I was a senior in high school. It was my parents' choice. My father, who's in construction, he wanted to be here after the Olympics, the 2000 Olympics, for a construction boom. He's a carpenter, and that's what drove us.
Yeah. And was it a great call?
I would say yes. Chicago, where we were, is Chicago. So, Utah's Utah. So,
yeah. Big cultural shock.
Heck yes.
A little bit different.
It is a lot different.
Yeah, it's cool though, man. You know, you move here and you go to school. You finished some high school. Did you?
I did go to high school, but right after high school, I joined the Coast Guard.
Oh, straight in. Okay.
Straight in. So I think I had like 2 or 3 months after graduation off to boot camp and on a boat.
Oh man, that's excellent, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tell me about that. So you were in the Coast Guard. You're no longer serving in the Coast Guard now?
No,
Okay.
No longer.
Tell me about the Coast Guard, man.
Coast Guard was a lot of fun. A lot of action in the Coast Guard. Always doing something. I was stationed at a small boat search and rescue station in Cleveland, downtown Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, awesome.
It was a really hopping station. I mean, we were going all hours of the night, all hours during the day, during the summertime. In the wintertime, the lake would freeze over and it was slow. I wanted to be in the Coast Guard my whole life. I had the intention. My whole life I wanted to be in the Coast Guard, ever since I was young, is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make a full career out of it and keep going, but Coast Guard was stressful, mm-hmm. and I thought at the time the grass would be greener on the other side of the fence. Mm-hmm. I thought I wanted to be a civilian, mm-hmm. and I came back and I worked with my dad for a little while.
Okay.
After I discharged from the Coast Guard, I thought. I don't know why I did it. I should have stayed in, to tell you the truth. But I didn't. I thought it would be greener, and so that's that.
Oh, well, so you get out of the Coast Guard, you get into civilian life here, and the transition was
rough.
Yeah.
It was really rough.
Yeah. Well, tell me about rough.
Well, I was 18 when I got into the Coast Guard. I knew nothing else. And I knew my friends only, and then the job, and I didn't have many other skills. So it was rough because I came back and I tried pursuing carpentry and working in the family business with my dad. And I was always searching for something else. I always wanted to be back in the military. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up getting into the Army National Guard because of missing service so much. Right. Yeah. And so I did that, and I didn't realize I was having a hard time. I have post-traumatic stress disorder, and I got it from what the doctors say was the Coast Guard. It was just a rough transition. I didn't know I had it. Mm-hmm. Nobody told me this. I was always, depressed, having a hard time, drinking too much. Just typical symptoms of post-traumatic stress afterwards, but nobody was able to put a finger on it. Yeah. So until I got into the Army later, people were like, "Oh, that's what you have."
So once you started identifying that you were dealing with some trauma, have you involved yourself in treatment? Have you found things effective?
Sure, I've done all kinds of treatments. I have a therapist that I love right now. She helps me out a lot. I've been through some programs where we've done equine therapy and EMDR. I've done all of them, and what I do now is a lot of holistic type things. I eat well. I try and eat well.
Yeah.
I try and do the yogas and the exercises and all that stuff. So that's how I deal with it currently.
Yeah. Yeah. And has it been effective?
Yeah, it's effective somewhat.
Yeah.
I finally feel like I have some sort of grasp on things, and knowing what's going on is helpful too.
Yeah. You had reached a point where you were done. You were on the edge, right? Like,
sure.
You were planned out and everything. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
So when you got to this place, when you were at this point of like suicidality, and this was a thing that was like on the table,
sure,
as a legitimate, this is an idea, this will work.
How did I feel at the time?
Yeah, like what were you feeling? What was happening with you?
Okay, so this was a few years back. I was 80 pounds heavier. I was just a mess. I didn't know what was up or down. I was desperate for something, and I didn't know how to even help myself at the time. Mm-hmm. I felt awful. I didn't know what anxiety, the definition of anxiety. I didn't know that it was even happening to me.
Yeah.
And that's how confusing it was.
Yes, yeah.
Like, somebody told me, back then, you have anxiety. I would have been like, what are you talking about?
Right.
When I was consumed with it.
Yeah.
I was so consumed with it that I didn't even know it. I felt terrible inside, and I still feel this way sometimes, but like, you just feel just jittery, anxious, and tense, and it's just this crushing feeling. You can't hardly breathe, and that's why people kill themselves with this, is because it's so overwhelming all the time that people are using drugs to deal with it, to release it, or doing whatever they're doing to release these just overwhelming impending doom is what it feels like.
Yeah. I mean, I relate a little bit. I have the diagnosis too, right? And experiences, and I found myself fortunate because people told me what was going on and what was going to happen, and I didn't believe them when they said it to me. I couldn't comprehend it, right? Like, I couldn't comprehend what they were saying, but when I would hit these periods, these points of like craziness, I would recall like what they said, like, just there would be a guy at the VA that just would like put his hand on my shoulder and be like, hey dude, here's what's going down. Like, and this is going to happen, and you're going to feel like you're losing your mind,
For sure.
I think that my knowing that has really affected the way that I worked things through. I was able to recognize, oh man, I'm not losing my mind. The guy said this is going to happen, and if he knew it, maybe I'm going to be all right, and and I would do things to reach out and stuff, and I was, which was also difficult. It was difficult on the people I would reach out to, I think my family felt very difficult with that. With you, having, you don't have any idea what's going on. You're overwhelmed by this. And then what happens? I mean, how are you here?
How am I here? Tell you the truth, it was running. Running saved my life, pretty much. Running in my vet cave, that gave me some direction, and that's where my carpentry skills came into play. I hit rock bottom. I spiraled out of control. I needed a project because they medically discharged me from the army at that time. Excuse me. And so I just started building a shed because I knew I needed a place to think. I knew I needed a quiet place. And so my running keeps me physically happy, but my shed keeps me mentally happy. It's a place of, it's my own shrine, my own area with everything that I like.
Yeah. I hear shed and I think, yeah, I'm going to go out there and build something, And is that kind of what happens with this, with the vet cave?
Well, with my vet cave, I have two spaces. One only for thinking and meditating and resting and doing like reading and peaceful things. And then I have another room outside of it where it's for working. And in there, my wife and I run a small jewelry company that we make some neat jewels.
Nice.
And we've selling them too, and it's a good time.
You've got this place now, and you've got these things that you can do, right? What about others in your life, and what role do they play? Are there mentors? Are there like do you have, is there like guides, spiritual, mental, emotional? Does that come into play? Do you have that happening?
Well, sure, God's a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been a guide for me.
Yeah.
I have good friends that I call on when I'm triggered and when I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
They're there for me sometimes, and I have with the Vet Caves guys, the guys from Vet Caves, we've created this group to kind of like support each other and get, when we're having a hard time. We started off kind of like a club. Leo and I, that's how we started this organization. To begin with was we were just helping each other out. I built the shed. He thought it was neat. He thought what I was doing was a good idea, and he did it. And then it turned out working well for him. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of built itself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's real great, man. So, that now you've done this, and you've done this for yourselves and each other. What are you doing with it, and how are you? So you're no longer in the service, but how are you continuing to serve now? Is this it, and how is that it?
Yes, it is it, because this is what's helped me to lose 80 pounds and begin to start feeling things and start feeling better and start feeling, seeing what's important in life again is my place. And so I would like to share with others because I know that it's beneficial. I mean, I have a place where I can go plan my day, and I can't really do that all the time because when I'm triggered or whatever, it's just, I don't know. The Vet Cave works.
Yeah. What concerns are there for this? We give a fortress of solitude to a veteran who is struggling there, sure. Right? There's like this mentorship thing that I feel like needs to be there, right? Like, because you've been through this, and like you've learned to recognize the trauma, and you've learned to know that it's a thing you've got to heal from. You've got a wound that is forming who you are in a lot of ways because of these wounds you have. As you continue to heal from them, you're becoming a somebody. Like, I've learned that for myself, that because of these things, I have an experience that's different, right? And not so unique that I'm alone.
It's
right?
Yeah, sometimes you are isolated.
Yeah.
And when you are triggered and you're sitting there and you're isolated for a minute, and it's probably what you need.
Yeah.
It's what I need sometimes. I need to isolate and get away from it. But then you sit there enough and you realize, hey, you go through, I have an emergency checklist of stuff. So like if I'm triggered, I start going down the list.
Yeah.
Check. If I meditated, how do I feel? Why am I feeling this way? All these different things.
Yeah.
And then once you go through that in your place, you're like, guess I'm good now. And you gotta go back. You go back at life.
Yeah.
You go back at life better, in my opinion, because you've done everything you can.
Yeah, you've worked it through. I like this checklist idea. That's a heck of a tool.
Yeah. So I learned it from the VA.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's good.
You pull this list out and actually do it.
Yeah.
Run, eat, drink water, get some more sleep, just basic stuff.
Yeah. Just basic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's it. Man. And it helps. It works.
Yeah.
Yeah. It gets us back. So I love what you're doing, and I'm impressed by it. I think that it's a wonderful thing. I think that the Vet Cave is a great thing. I think that you're a great guy to be doing it. What are your hopes to do with this vet cave thing? What do you hope to do?
Honestly, to bring all veterans of all walks and organizations together. I would like to see a network of people just using each other to help each other. I would like to see vet caves come into town somewhere and we just have like an old-fashioned barn raising for a deserving veteran. And then guess what? Since they came and helped in this town, they know a new veteran who has a vet cave. And then when he's in his vet cave having a hard time, he can call those guys that built him that barn, and they can either come over or FaceTime, or they can talk to him on the phone or text him, anything, and say, hey man, it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Today sucks. Tomorrow might not.
Yeah.
So hang in there.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see.
That's beautiful, man. Matt, thanks for sitting with me and having a conversation.
Thanks, Frank. Hope I did okay.
Oh, brother, you are okay. Totally.